Hi guys, this is Julia and today I want to show you how you can create a very soft watercolor look. You know that I'm usually a fan of high contrast coloring, but I have a team member on my Purple Onion Designs design team and her colorations are absolutely amazing. I will link to her in the video description below and on my blog. And I just wanted to try if I was even able to get a soft look, if I would not get carried away to create a high contrast coloration. And I'm going to be using this cute little raccoon here, and it's actually a pumpkin that he's hiding behind, but I'm going to color him sitting behind a huge cherry. So that's what I'm doing. Now, I'm starting out by scribbling some of the color from the Zig Clean Color Real brush pens, markers, whatever, onto an acrylic block and picking it up with my brush and applying it to my stamped image. That is just so I will make sure to get a very, very light base wash and not have too intense of a color. You don't need these markers. You can use whatever coloration medium you have. Okay, so don't run off and buy yet another coloration medium. Try it with whatever coloration medium you have. Okay, so you could use Stabilo markers, you could use traditional watercolors, try it with whatever you've got. Now for the cherry, the pumpkin slash cherry, I'm starting out by applying just clear water to the cherry, and then I'm dipping the color, taking the color from the acrylic block and dipping it into the wet areas, and you can see how the color moves immediately because the areas are wet. And I think that's a great way to get a like a base wash of color. It dried a little bit weirdly, you will see that later on, but I think that was my mistake, because I think that to get an even layer of color, it's important to go over the entire area, and you can see here that I only went over the white areas and didn't really go over the previously colored areas, and you will see later on what happens. Now on the head of the raccoon, I again put some clear water down, then I'm picking up some color from the acrylic block, and you can see that I get a very soft, very light wash of color, and that's exactly what I want. Now I'm coming back in with the pen, and I'm just dipping it into the edges where it will be darkest to intensify the color, but I'm immediately going back in with my brush and pulling it out, so I will have an even coloration there. And I'm doing the same on the lower part of his head, first clean water and then a little bit of color. And I keep reminding myself that I can always add more color, but you can't really add less. And I'm repeating the same process here. In the meantime, over on my cherry, you can see what happened, because when I did the last wash of color there, or the last step in the first wash of color, I didn't go over the entire area. I only went over the white area and not over the previously colored area, and that's why you get this this border. I don't mind these borders when it dries, when I create a background or something, but I did mind it here because I did not want that. So the lesson that I learned is, if you want to create an even coloring, and this is just clear water, I'm trying to activate the color again, you have to go over the entire area. So now I'm putting down color and I'm blending it out over the entire area here. I'm not stopping anywhere in between to make sure that I will not get those ugly dried edges again. And I'm just adding a little bit more color here and there to create some depth, because I feel that this area will be more in the background, so of course it will be darker, and the same goes for this area right here. You can see that I'm working with a very fine tip brush and very little water here to make sure I can control the flow of the colors. So I'm coming back here, adding another wash of color, and you can see me working my brush over the entire area and blending it out, just to make sure that if I wet the entire area, I won't have a like this dried edge somewhere in the middle. And just reiterating what I did before, wetting the area where the color will go, then putting the color down there, you can immediately see how the water pulls the color away. And then I'm using my brush to smooth it out. And I'm even coming back in and adding a little bit more color simply to create a little bit more depth, because I want this the tail of the raccoon to appear rounded, so I want it to be darker on the bottom. Now, the only problem with these that I have with these markers here, and that is actually something that my friend Sonja from I can never keep the name of the blog straight. I'll link to her in the video description below. She made me aware of that there is no real red with these markers. And the reason for that is, I don't know what the reason for that is, but basically if you blend out the red, it turns into a pink. Now I wanted my cherry to be a little bit more reddish, and even though it looks orangish here, in real life it looks more red. So basically I added a little bit of orange on top of the red to make the color warmer and to get more of a red tone instead of a pink tone. Now with the scarf, I'm using both yellow and oranges. I wanted to keep the coloring very light. And I applied a first layer of color, and now I'm coming actually back with my orange and applying a second layer of color, and I'm just blending this out a little bit. Here I'm not too worried about having it blend perfectly because, it's a loose watercolor painting, at least in that part. Now for my background, here's what I'm doing. I have my card base, and I'm just taking some of the brushes, and I put down some color, and now I'm using a big brush loaded with water to smooth this out. I actually practiced this on a scrap piece of paper so I wouldn't mess this up. So if you think, oh my gosh, it works for her on the first attempt, nope, it's not my first attempt, believe me. And the great thing is that I can come into these wet areas now with my markers or brush pens, whatever, and just add more color to intensify it. It's not quite visible here in the video, but the colors are pretty intense, and I'm just, blending them out. I've actually sprayed this entire card panel with Perfect Pearls, so it shimmers really nicely in real life. I stamped a sentiment, which is also by Purple Onion Designs, and I had my brother scan and cut this little critter out. I was very happy with the result that I've got here. I did cut out the part between his scarf and his body over to the left because I had the setting that I had used on the scan and cut didn't allow it to go into these little areas, so that's why I did with my scissors. I came in and just corrected that with my scissors. I'm adding some sequins by Pretty Pink Posh just for some additional sparkle and shine in the colors that I'm using here for the background. And here is the entire card. I don't think you can see the sparkle and shine here, but believe me, it's there. Like spraying stuff with Perfect Pearls is just so much fun. So here's my softly colored raccoon with his huge cherry, not a pumpkin, with a cherry. I really had fun doing this. It was a challenge for me, and I really enjoyed doing this. Like I like to challenge myself and see what I can do or what I can't do, and then I have to get better at it. So I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you again soon. Bye bye.